Going back 4 months to in our first meeting in January, the program there was how to receive Morse code. And at that time, we provided the tools that you would need in order to become comfortable with a Morse code. And at that time, it gave you 2 months and also an invitation to join our Morse Code Net, which is on Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock on Zoom. So we had some new members come in and join us, and I have to say they apparently are enjoying Morse code. So the next part that we're going to be looking in the future is how to use Morse code, and that should be in about another 2 months. It won't be, we don't have a date codified yet, but it will be in about 2 months. So let's take a look where we are today, and we're going to talk about how to send Morse code. Presuming that you know how to copy Morse code, the next thing to do is to figure out how to send it. There's several different kinds, well, there's many different kinds of telegraph keys. And part of the excitement of being a telegrapher is having more than one key, and some that you're just really in love with. And so we'll take a look at a couple of those tonight. We want to see how they operate, because if you're going to be a telegrapher, you ought to know how the keys operate so you can always adjust them and fix them and figure out, in fact, see how to operate them. All right, so let's see. What's the first question that I get asked whenever we're talking about learning Morse code or learning to send Morse code? What would you guess was the first question? How about that one? What is the best key? And the answer to that is, well, there's a couple of them. One of them is the one that you have right now on your desk. That could be the best key because you don't have to buy it. But there's also some other choices, and this is a collection of a few of keys. There's catalogs of these that have the description of the key and tell who designed it and why it was designed and some of the characteristics of it. So these just happen to be a few that we had laying around when it was time to take a picture. They have different names, not John and Bill and Mary, but it's a straight key, and that's one that has no embellishments on it. Side swiper is kind of the same way. A jitterbug, we'll take a look at these in just a moment. Electronic keyer and an iambic keyer. Now, let's take a look at the similarities between all of these keys. These are 5 different kinds of common types of keys. What do you think the similarities between these keys is? What is the similarity or similarities are between these keys? They are all switches. You can take 2 pieces of wire and twist them together, and you have a telegraph key. And so what were we looking at when we looked at that whole bunch of keys? We were looking at a collection of switches, and that's all they do. And they just turn on and they turn off. So when you go out and you buy something, you're actually really truthfully buying a work of art. And we're talking essentially form and function. And you can see these keys here, the one right in the center bottom, the J38 key, that is probably the simplest key that we have out there. And if you look to the one just to the left of that, that's probably the most, I think that's really a pretty key. It's got a lot of shiny chrome on it, and that does more than just a regular straight key. So these are now a work of art. They're switches, but that doesn't really have anything to do with sending Morse code. What has to do with sending Morse code is how you actually use your arm and your hand, and I say both, not just the hand, to send signals that are properly formed. And that's really the important part. Morse code is really made up of three components. It's made up of a dit, it's made up of a da, and it's made up of the space between the dits and das, or between the characters. So all three of those are very important, and that's what you're striving for in uniformity, so that when you're sending to other folks, they can copy you without any difficulty. I was just making a contact, I think maybe a day or so ago, and the guy sent one word, and that word had about 50 characters in it. It was just ramble, and it was very difficult to copy to where I just spun off the dial. But it was just not going to the trouble of properly forming your characters and your three components, the dits, the das, and the spaces. To start with, the first thing that's important is how to hold the key. And I'm going to reach down, and it's like you're going to pick up a poker chip, if you have any experience with that. 3 fingers, just reach and grab the poker chip and pick it up, just like you would pick up the key. That's where you want to leave your fingers, right around the outside of the key. Your index finger might want to be a little bit on the top. And from that position, that's the proper position to hold the key top. Now, there's another part to this, and that is, what do you do with your hand? If you can see the wrist, if you notice the wrist, I'm not doing this, pressing with my fingers. It involves the wrist, the fingertips, and also the arm. Notice how much the arm is moving, and notice the fingers are just grabbing this poker chip, and the wrist is moving up and down and sending the characters. It's got to be a follow through. If you're playing golf and you want to strike the ball, you don't just stop right there. The club keeps right on going and goes right over your shoulder. If you're playing baseball, the same thing. You smack the ball, but you follow through with the bat. The same thing when you're holding the key. And the follow through is with the wrist. You press it down and it comes back up. Let's talk about another tool that we have, and that tool is called Audacity. This is Audacity, and this is a very important tool when you're going to be sending or practice sending, because this is going to show you, not only have you listen, but show you what your characters look like. Whoops. So I have Audacity, which is like a voiceover or a band track recording device. I'm going to click this red button up here, and it's going to start recording, and you can see it's recording my voice as we go across. I'm going to hit the square button, and it's going to stop. I'm going to grab all of this, and I'm going to hit the delete key, and poof, it's gone. So now what we want to do is we want to, let's see if I can make this work here. I'm going to record, and then we're going to go back and look at what the characters look like as I'm sending them. And I'm going to use a straight key, and then I'm going to use an electronic key here. Okay, now, if you can see the spacing here, on each one of the dits and each one of the DAWs, the DAW should be the length of 3 dits. And if I have a device that I can measure, then I would take and put it up on the screen and measure the distance here between these dits and measure it with the DAWs and be sure that they are in the appropriate proportion. The dits, or a DAW, is the length of 3 dits. So it looks like probably I'm pretty close. Remember that there's a dit where it starts, and then there's a dit in between, and then there's another dit at the end. So it would really be from this point right here to that point right there, which would be the space of 3 dits, and that looks like it's about what it would be on there. One of the things that I found when I was sending, and I'm going to try and see if I can't duplicate it here, I found that the last DAW that I would send was always longer than any of them that were in the middle of the text. So I'm going to send my call sign here. Okay, and then we'll stop it. And actually, you can read it. It looks like I've improved. Usually this DAW right here was a little bit longer than the DAW and the DAW and the DAW. So what you want to do when you're all finished sending is you want to look at this. You want to look at the spaces in between. It's a little bit short. This is a little bit long. So there's some improvement that can be done here and in this point right here. So by using the Audacity program, you can actually look at and see in real time how your sending has been. This is probably one of the best tools that you can use in practicing or actually learning how to use the code. I'm going to erase this out of here. And I'm going to try it with the electronic key here, and let's see how that works. Let's. And we'll stop it. There we go. You can see how this is, just looking at it, it looks much more uniform than the other one did. Now, the thing that I'm controlling here actually is the spaces, and this space is a little bit short. This is a little bit long. And so what I would do practicing is I would then practice trying to keep the spaces even. And that way it would give you a much better code or much better fist than you would if you just were playing it by ear. And if you're trying to, let's measure it one more time here. And the fella that I was listening to today, and we'll stop that. Even looking at it, it's kind of hard to figure out what's going on. And so put yourself at the other end of the circuit when you're trying to copy something like that. And it's not a very professional sound. So you can actually look at this, see where you need the improvement, come back, try it out, make the changes, and get yourself squared away with your fist.
What is an electronic keyer? You described what a straight key was. What's an electronic keyer?
Oh, I'm so glad that you asked. All right. Here's an electronic keyer. You push it has one arm in the middle. You push it to one side. It sends dits continuously. You push it to the other side, and it sends DAWs continuously. So if you're going to send, say, my call sign, for instance, that's familiar. where you just do it by moving your hand left and right. Now you can see that this is a lot better than trying to send with a straight key, which would be here. So you can see the straight key, and the telegraphers would get what they call a glass elbow, which is, we know today, they call it carpal tunnel syndrome, but you're using the same muscles repetitively, and that's what you would have to acquire when you use the straight key a lot. Now you don't have that. You do that by just moving it back and forth. And so this would be an electronic keyer. I have another one that's important that I show you, and that is the bug or the jitterbug. This is one of the first ones that was invented to have the telegraphers get away with moving their hand up and down because they would move it back and forth, but they didn't have the electronics. So in this one, if I move this to the side, if you can see that contact closing on the right side there, that gives you the DAWs, and now the dits are generated with the pendulum, and that has a contact, and it's making a contact and breaking the contact over and over again. Da da da. So you would send this da 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 dit da da, and that would send you the dits and the da, or you could send one dit, two dits, whatever required by the character, and so that would be the jitterbug. And obviously, it's why it's called a jitterbug or a bug. You can see the pendulum bouncing around there. There's one more that. This is talk about form and function. This has a beautiful form, and the function is even a little bit better. It has a straight key, and you just use it as a straight key. If you want to use it as a paddle, you can use it considering these two paddles as one, or you can use it as an iambic keyer, which means that if you hold this paddle over, it sends you dits, dit, 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 da, 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 just like the electronic keyer. However, it has two paddles. That has to mean something. What it means is, if you squeeze these two paddles together, it will then send alternate dits and daws. Da, 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 da. If you start with the dit side, it'll start with a dit. Dit da, dit da, dit da, dit da, dit. You start with the da side, da, dit da, dit da, dit. But you just pinch the characters together. So what's that doing? It's saving you energy. And I say that tongue in cheek. I never really got the real handle on the iambic keyer. So if you have a chance to buy an iambic keyer, you can use it as a regular electronic keyer. You just, instead of squeezing them, you just use them together, da-da-da-da-dit, and it will give you the same signal that you would be getting if you were using this keyer here. There we go. And you would do the same thing with this, except you wouldn't squeeze them, you would just use them like this. And it goes back and forth.
W4 in your way with a suggestion. On those hand keys, those straight keys that you have your hand on, the board they're mounted on, the board should be up long enough to where to reach under your elbow, so it won't move around when you have your arm on the table.
Yes, and originally, you're right. And the piece of wood that I had was about this long. So I was not able to do that. But you're right, that's another presentation for the same one. And this has got little rubber feet on it. The other ones have I put some, it looks like putty, but it's called museum, I think it's called museum putty. And it sticks on and it sticks off. It doesn't get in there where you can't get it off. You have to use gasoline or something. And you can see, you can see that it is just rigid on there and it doesn't move on the table. And yet I can still pick it up, move it to a different location. If you want some, I have some. You spend $1 and you get a lifetime worth of museum putty. But let me stress the Wednesday night meeting. And of course, we hold it on Zoom. So no matter where you are or what you're doing, you can be in Denny's having breakfast and you can still attend our meetings. And there's a lot to go on. And we have a lot of tools. I just showed you the few that I had time for tonight. But we have a lot of tools that we'll share with you and show you how to use them and work with you. And you will become a telegrapher. And we have a number of people that we enjoy our Wednesday night session, that they're just a lot of fun. And then, of course, we do practice during the week too, but that's on a one-to-one basis. Any more questions?
Setting up the key, setting up the contact spacing and the tension and stuff. Any suggestions?
Oh, yes, there is a suggestion. You need to get a $100 bill. That is traditional. And you use the $100 bill, and it goes in between the contacts, and that sets your spacing. Also, the $100 bill, I don't have a $100 bill. I don't have a nickel. But here's, I give you an idea of what's happening here, is do not, and I repeat again and again, do not use sandpaper. Do not use emery cloth. Do not use crocus cloth. The contacts that you see right here, let me see if I can. These contacts, as we talked about, this is just an electronic switch. The contacts are right there. And if I close this, if I can, it's not moving very much because I don't have a very big gap in there. But there are the contacts. And what you do is you put your $100 bill between the two contacts, close it down, just drag and hold it down very lightly, and pull the spacer out. And you can do that a couple of times, and that will get the oxidation off of your contacts, and then it will give you a better tone, and it won't be scratchy. So that's definitely what you want to do. And now the exact spacing, that will get you started. That'll get you in the ballpark. The exact spacing, that depends on you and how you feel about it. You don't want to have a gap in there. You can, let's see here, let me try to get this. That's too big a gap because it throws your timing off. You have to move the key so far that you not be able to send fast. So close that down. This is a little adjustment right here. We'll close that down. A little bit more.
About a 64th of an inch.
A 64th of an inch, okay. What I have is a $100 bill here. I can put that in there. But if you had something that would fit in there, that would get you started. But really, it's a matter of touch. And if if the sergeant was looking over your shoulder, you'd probably set it for a 64th of an inch. But if you were sending for a few hours, you might want to adjust it a little bit differently to where you felt comfortable with it, and comfort is really important. This is about that's about where I would leave it. Now, a lot of stuff covered tonight. If you want to learn more, we do have a vehicle for that, and it's called the CW Net. And the CW Net meets every Wednesday at 7 o'clock. So from 7 o'clock till 8 o'clock is for the folks that are learning, and from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock are the folks that want to improve their speed. 7 to 8 is kind of like a workhorse, and 8 to 9 is kind of like a fun time where we we work seriously, but using different methods, different vehicles to improve our code.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much, man. It was good, and I learned something. I learn something every time. So thank you very much, Pete.